Welcome to Nebraska Public Power District's Solar Trade Ally Network training. Viewing this training is a prerequisite for vendors who want to be part of NPPD's network. During this training, you will learn about the goals of this program, participant eligibility, guidelines, and acknowledgements, what it takes to become certified as a trade ally and decertified, what NPPD will do during its project inspection process. We will cover the customer interconnection application, and most important, we will discuss rate structures set for customer-owned solar. A brief overview of the required customer-owned solar buyers checklist and some Q&As. NPPD has two main goals for the Solar Trade Ally Network. One is to ensure customers fully understand how their utility bill will be affected should they install a solar project. And two, have the solar project installation be a quality, long-term investment for the customer. NPPD has many eligibility requirements to be part of the Solar Trade Ally Network. You will participate in this training and sign the program guidelines and acknowledgement document on an annual basis. You will be supplied with a customer-owned solar checklist for each project, and you will be required to provide this checklist to customers when you meet them. This checklist is to help educate the customer on all the things they should know before they install a solar project. After participating in the Solar Trade Ally Network training and meeting all program eligibility requirements, your business will be listed on NPPD's website. And it's important to note that inclusion on this list does not constitute an endorsement by NPPD as a public utility. NPPD does not endorse vendors, and NPPD does not provide any warranty of service for projects. To qualify as a Solar Trade Ally, you must have an approved customer connection application and go through installing one solar project. You must participate in this training and then agree to provide your customers with the customer-owned solar checklist prior to the customer signing any agreements. All equipment and materials are purchased by the customer and inspected by the authority having jurisdiction, either a municipal electrical inspector or the state electrical division inspector. You must acknowledge that the operation of the customer-owned solar generation system will not occur until NPPD has inspected the project and the assigned interconnection application is approved. Products must be installed and services rendered at the customer's property within NPPD service territory. Falsifying any information will result in a loss of designation as a Solar Trade Ally Program contractor. You must acknowledge to the customers that NPPD's residential or commercial service rate, depending on what rate the customer is on, is comprised of two components, a fixed charge and a variable energy charge, and represent to customers that their solar generation will only reduce the variable energy portion of their utility bill and not affect the monthly fixed charges. You must acknowledge that 30-year projections from the U.S. Energy Information Administration show between 0 and 1.5% increases in annual electric rates are reasonable for projecting the lifetime savings on a solar project. You must acknowledge both the U.S. Energy Information System Administration electric utility rate escalation percentage and your electric rate is prominently displayed on any sales proposals with customers. You must acknowledge that as an NPPD Solar Trade Ally Network participant, you waive any claim that a third-party beneficiary of an agreement or contract between NPPD and its customers. The customer needs to understand you are entirely independent of NPPD. You must acknowledge that, as stated before, NPPD does not endorse or warrant any contractors, manufacturers, products, or system designs. You must acknowledge that your installation must comply with all federal, state, and local safety and building codes and regulations. And again, you must acknowledge providing the customer-owned solar checklist to the customer prior to the customer signing any agreements. To become certified for the Solar Trade Ally Network, you must participate in this training, either in person or online, and agree to sign the program guidelines and acknowledgement document. You can become decertified by having the project fail an NPPD retail inspection. 2 written warnings will be given before being removed from the Trade Ally list. You can also become decertified by energizing a project before the interconnection process approval. Only 1 written warning will be given before being removed from the Trade Ally list. This is important from a safety aspect for customers and NPPD teammates who might be working on the power lines. You can become decertified by failing to provide your customer with the required customer-owned solar buyer's checklist form. 2 warnings will be given before being removed from the Trade Ally list. You can become decertified by providing a misleading sales proposal to a customer with inaccurate utility rates. 2 written warnings will be given before being removed from the Trade Ally list. If you become decertified, you can recertify again after 6 months by going through the same certification process. Here are just a few things that an NPPD manager, superintendent, or local lineman might look at during an inspection. This includes ensuring the project allows ease of access for working on utility infrastructure, either overhead or underground, or impedes the reliable operation of the utility system. NPPD will inspect the meter socket. If you made any connections within the meter socket, NPPD would look at those. NPPD will inspect the disconnect switch, the one that's next to the meter socket, and make sure it's a visible open and lockable disconnect switch and labeled correctly. Then lastly, NPPD will operate the disconnect switch to shut the inverter down and confirm that it is shut down properly during a simulated outage and no voltage is produced from the solar project. Next up is the NPPD interconnection application. This will cover net metering projects from under 25 kilowatts, but it also applies to larger projects. When a customer becomes an electricity generator and an electricity consumer, it puts them in a different rate structure. Some processes will need to be followed to ensure the project will work well on the utility infrastructure and not cause any safety concerns. Most of the small solar installation projects you will be working on will flow down the left side of this process chart, from the beginning to the end of the project. NPPD's interconnection application also includes these 2 responsibility statements. If, during NPPD's inspections, the installation is deemed unsafe for the customer, the public, or NPPD teammates, NPPD reserves the right to refuse connection until safety-related deficiencies are addressed. After the project is connected and safely generating electricity, NPPD has the right to disconnect if it poses a risk to the customer, the public, or NPPD teammates. If the project needs to be removed from the electric system, all costs incurred are the customer's responsibility. The Nebraska State Legislature established laws involving renewable energy projects. Those would be State Statutes 70-2002 through 72-2005, also known as LB 436. You are welcome to review those. Most of NPPD's interconnection applications are reviewed and completed within 30 days. Still, they can take up to 60 days, which the state statute allows. NPPD will have an online application to replace the current paper form in the summer of 2022, but will continue to use the existing paper form. Then we will notify you when the online application is available. We will now talk about NPPD's electric rates. Electric rates are complex, more so under NPPD's net metering program. So if you have any questions, please reach out to NPPD and a rates expert will gladly walk you through and explain them more thoroughly. The best way to understand NPPD electric rates, more specifically the amount of savings a customer may expect when they install solar, is to review a typical customer bill. What is reflected on this slide is an NPPD customer residential bill during the winter season. Note that we have different winter rates than we do in the summer, so the total bill in the summer will be different. A residential bill is reflected because most NPPD's net metering customers are residential customers. A few points worth noting on this bill. The bill is $212.13, and it's made up of various rate components: a customer charge, an energy and delivery charge, a production cost adjustment credit, a lease payment, and gross revenue taxes, and then city and state sales tax. In this bill example, you will note that 2,026 kilowatt hours were used during the billing period. Simple math calculates this to be 10.47 cents per kilowatt hour. This slide breaks down NPPD's residential rate by component. It reflects both NPPD's residential summer and winter rates and which components are saved under NPPD's net metering program. The first component is the customer charge. This is billed every month and is used to charge for costs to be connected to the electric grid. For example, infrastructure needs to be built, a meter needs to be installed, and the customer needs to be billed each month whether the customer chooses to install generation or not. Therefore, the customer charge will not be saved under net metering. The next charge is the energy charge. You will note that NPPD has a declining block rate in the winter. This means that the customer is charged a lesser rate for additional kilowatt hours used after the first 750 kilowatt hours of usage. Since energy charges vary depending on the number of kilowatt hours consumed, if solar generation is installed and its input is used to serve the electrical needs of the customer, NPPD doesn't have to generate the electricity. Therefore, the customer saves on the energy charges under the net metering, whether it's the first or second block. Base rate adjustments or lease payment and gross revenue taxes are contractual or statutory costs NPPD is required to collect from the customers and pay to the communities and counties we serve. Since the lease payment and gross revenue tax typically apply to both the customer charge and energy charge, there is a partial savings the customer could receive under net metering for just the energy portion of the bill. The production cost adjustment is currently a credit to the customer of 0.291 cents per kilowatt hour. The production cost adjustment is a refund to the customer for past surpluses NPPD has generated. Since the credit is based on the amount of energy NPPD delivers to the customer, it is an offset to any savings that may occur under net metering. It is important to understand the production cost adjustment can also be a charge in certain circumstances. If that's the case, it would result in savings to the customer. Sales taxes are based on the customer's total bill. Therefore, if a customer's bill goes down under net metering because of lower energy charges, they will see partial savings for state and city sales tax under net metering. So, how much can a customer save under the net metering? Here is an example using the information from the customer's winter bill shown previously. However, let's assume they installed solar generation and the energy generated for that bill period was 1,000 kilowatt hours. The left side of this slide shows the rate component breakdown for the customer for a current winter bill. If you recall, total energy usage was 2,026 kilowatt hours, with a total bill of $212.13. On the right side of this slide, note how each rate component is impacted by the 1,000 kilowatt hours of solar generation. There is no savings under net metering for the customer charge. The 1,000 kilowatts of solar generation offsets the customer's energy usage in the second block rate first at 6.76 cents. This is where you can see the $67.60 savings. As you go down the bill breakdown, you will see partial savings on the base rate adjustments and the city and state sales taxes, as stated before. Again, the production cost adjustment will offset the savings since it's a credit based on total energy usage. In this example of 1,000 kilowatt hours of solar generation under a net metering installation, the customer will save 8.44 cents per kilowatt hour for the 1,000 kilowatt hours they generated, which, when compared to the all-in cost, 10.47 cents per kilowatt hour, is about 2 cents per kilowatt less. The 8.44 cents per kilowatt hour is the approximate savings that can be expected for each of the 8 winter months. The next slide is identical to the previous slide, except it reflects approximate savings during a summer month. In this case, the approximate savings is 12.64 cents per kilowatt hour versus the all-in cost of 14.08 cents per kilowatt hour, which can be expected for each of the 4 summer months. NPPD wants to reiterate that not all costs are avoided when a customer takes service under net metering. Savings apply only to the energy charge and the partial share of certain other costs. Savings are not realized on the customer charge portion of the bill. Most net metering customers are residential customers, and they save approximately 8.5 cents to 10 cents per kilowatt hour in the winter and 12 to 13 cents per kilowatt hour in the summer. Finally, several factors may impact the amount of savings for customer generation on the NPPD's net metering rider. NPPD rates include several rate components, some of which you can save and others which you cannot save. A net metering bill can be somewhat complex. Therefore, we suggest contacting NPPD for further questions if you are considering installing generation under NPPD's net metering program. Rate information shared by some solar vendors to customers interested in installing residential solar has been misleading. Some solar vendors share with customers that they can expect an excessively high annual rate increase from their local utilities. As you can see, NPPD has been able to hold its rates steady over the last 10 years, and NPPD continues to keep costs down, focusing on maintaining affordable rates and reliable electricity for years to come. Here is an example of the customer-owned solar checklist talked about throughout this training. Again, this checklist must be given to the customer prior to them signing any commitments, and it's part of your requirements as a Solar Trade Ally participant. Some key considerations to pass on to customers is to have them work with their local public power utility to see if they can make any energy efficiency improvements to their home or business. Doing so may reduce the cost of installing solar. Customers can get multiple quotes from knowledgeable solar contractors, and those contractors can be found on nppd.com. Customers should only sign if they understand all the terms, especially the economics of installing solar. Their local public power district can help them if they have any questions. We will provide our Solar Trade Allies some common Q&As for them and customers. Some common questions include, how do I sign up to be on the Trade Ally list? How often do I need to renew to remain on the list? And how often are the utility rate trainings? Again, these will be provided to you upon completing the training. If you have any questions regarding the training materials discussed today, please reach out to NPPD. And if your customers have any questions, have them call their local public power utility or NPPD as well. To learn more, contact NPPD with any questions at customerservice@nppd.com or 877-ASK-NPPD, or visit nppd.com/Solar Trade Ally. Welcome to Nebraska Public Power District's